There's two pieces that are very important to understand. The first is that we are now living through a historic moment with respect to our energy sector and emissions in the United States. Since 2008, the economy has grown by 10%, and energy sector carbon emissions have fallen by 10%. That reflects a more fundamental structural shift in the U.S. economy because of the energy intensity of our economy is coming down, but also in the fuel mix in our electricity sector and in our transportation sector as well. The second thing is that the global political consensus on this issue has shifted in a fundamental and irreversible way. So the Paris Agreement last year was historic in lots of ways, but if you look at what's happened in the 9 months since the Paris Agreement, in some ways it's even more striking that in the wake of the Paris Agreement, we've now seen that agreement fully come into force years earlier than anybody anticipated, based on a consensus by countries large and small, developed, developing, post-industrial and still industrializing, that this agreement should be accelerated. In Marrakesh, I was just out at this year's climate conference, and 196 countries signed a declaration saying that the momentum behind efforts to fight climate change is irreversible. And for any of you who have any experience working in diplomatic areas where you're trying to get 196 countries to agree to something, they usually don't make statements that are that categorical. But I think that it reflects a fundamental shift that the politics of this issue globally have changed as well. So I think the question for the next U.S. administration, as well as for business leaders in the United States, state and local leaders, and other stakeholders across the country is, given that reality, how do we best position our country so that our businesses, our consumers, can benefit from these irreversible dynamics? And there's extraordinary opportunity to do that if the question is viewed from that perspective. And there's an understanding that, for example, the Paris Agreement is not going anywhere. The Paris Agreement will continue to be the global driver of climate change action. The real question is the United States going to be at the table to make sure that we're holding other countries accountable? Unwinding things is not so simple. And I think this may be the most stark in the international context. Because as I sat there in Morocco around a table with the ministers from all of the major economies of the world, all of their countries having committed to the Paris Agreement 9 months earlier, and virtually all of them having engineered political processes to join, ratify, and then put Paris into force over that 9-month period, it was very clear to me what the trajectory of global climate policy is. And that is not unwound, and will not be unwound. And the question will be, where's the U.S. play?